As well as knowing your horse and jockey, you should also know when and when not to bet. To be a successful punter, you must wait for the right races and avoid the wrong ones. The right races are those in which you depend very little on guesswork and have plenty of evidence and solid facts to support your judgment. The wrong races are those in which you depend largely on guesswork and have little evidence and few facts. Above all, concentrate on the races in the area where you live. It may be fun to try to pick the winner of 30 or 40 races throughout Australia on a Saturday afternoon, but it will not be profitable. The best races to bet on are for top-class horses at set weights. Here the best horses have a clear weight advantage because the handicapper cannot use his discretion in framing the weights. What's more, top-class horses have an abundance of speed, stamina and the will to win. They are the most consistent horses racing and have the most predictable form. Let's go back to Better Loosen Up's win in the McKinnon Stakes. The interesting point is that he paid as much as $2.40 for $1 on the tab, despite the fact that he'd won his previous 3 races, including the Cox Plate. The only other horse solidly backed was Stylish Century, who tried to lead most of the way. Very few of the other runners had any chance at all at weight for age.
Chesham on the outside at Stylish Century. Better Loosen Up a half length behind him. Clark has pulled the whip and Better Loosen Up and Stylish Century fight it out nose and nose. Better Loosen Up goes home the better and Better Loosen Up has beaten Stylish Century by a long neck.
I know a punter who went to Flemington that day for just one bet. Better Loosen Up. That punter certainly knew the best race on which to wager. 5 days later, there was another good thing in the weight for age Linlithgow Stakes. That's Redelva, out in front, in the yellow and brown, ridden by Neville Wilson. On Derby Day, he'd finished second to Planet Ruler in the Gadsden. He should have been odds-on in this race because of the weight conditions and his great consistency. However, they backed Alquoz to beat him, and Redelva started at 7-4. Alquoz, an erratic performer, ran a bold race, but couldn't match Redelva at the finish.
Redelva first, from Alquoz and Beau George's third.
3-year-old races run at set weights also provide good betting opportunities. Once again, the best 3-year-olds have a clear weight advantage because the handicapper can't use his discretion in framing the weights. Obvious examples are the AJC Derby, Caulfield Guineas and Rosehill Guineas. And there are plenty of set weight 3-year-old races throughout the year. Take the Red Roses Stakes, a set-weight race for 3-year-old fillies over 1,200 metres at Flemington on the last day of the 1990 Spring Carnival. On weights, Wraparound looked a safe bet. The previous Saturday she'd won a similar race against stronger company. If the handicapper had been able to use his discretion, Wraparound would have carried top weight and would have been forced to concede several kilos to all her opponents. But under the set weight conditions, Wraparound carried only 54.5, with some of her opponents forced to give her weight. Given that information, you'd think Wraparound had to be an odds-on chance. In fact, she was freely available at 6-4. And there she is, in the white and green colours, winning by 2 lengths from Century Pike, who actually had to concede weight to her. If punters restricted themselves to betting on weight for age and set weight races, they'd have a great chance of showing a profit every year. However, I realise that most punters want to bet regularly week after week. For those punters, the best races are the ones in which all runners have a long form history, with all strengths and weaknesses known. These are races for mature, experienced horses. They include feature and quality handicaps like the Epsom, Doncaster Metropolitan and the Sydney Cup. They also include the open sprints, distance handicaps and welters run at most Metropolitan Saturday meetings. In these races you have few problems when assessing form. You know the racing characteristics of the horses, whether they like to lead, sit off the pace or come from behind. You know the jockeys who get the best out of them. You read your form guide and you know your horse. Here's a race like that. It's the 1990 Dalgety, run at Flemington on Derby Day, and one of the traditional lead-up races to the Melbourne Cup. My selection for the race was Mount Olympus, a 5-year-old grey who's easy to recognise as he takes the lead. I thought he had a better chance than Kingston Rule. The previous week in the Moonee Valley Cup he'd finished 5th, but less than 2 lengths from Kingston Rule. Here he had the same weight, whereas Kingston Rule was up 3 kilos to 56, and Mount Olympus was a 10-to-1 chance. It looked a good betting opportunity, and so it proved, with Mount Olympus holding off Kingston Rule to win by half a length.